being done, in my opinion, that's my personal opinion, and now that they're attempting to do it right, we're having an issue on a renewal. I don't think you have to endorse the rock coming out of the river as a method, Supervisor Colfax. I don't believe you do. But I do think that acknowledging the impact of such a core local product in our area when we're so far away. Don't make me bring Ray Madrigal in here. Ray's already had his people doing the studies on how many people are going to die coming up Highway 1. But if you want me to, I'll bring it in. So there's a lot of impacts I think you can comment about that don't necessarily endorse gravel extraction from a river, that don't necessarily endorse the environmental impacts or not endorse them, but at least state that it is an important asset, that it is an important business within our county, and it's so local within that one small area, an equal distance from Santa Rosa and from Ukiah. At least make that statement and stand with the businesses on the South Coast. Bedrock is one of the larger employers, so is Gualala Redwoods. So it's an employment issue, it's an air quality issue, it's all those issues. I think Sonoma County's going to do a great job. Right now, the regulations are that thick on it. It's going through more stuff than you guys have ever done. I've ever seen any of the folks here do. So it's really going through the mill now. But this is an important issue in our town, in our region, all the way to up above Point Arena and Elk. So help us with what you can, please. And I'd like to see a unanimous one. I really would. Lastly, I must publicly apologize for making the comment about a piece of cake with David's ride. So, David, I brought you a cake. Give it back. I apologize. That was wrong of me. I misstated. It's not a piece of cake drive. So, you got your cake back. Thank you.
Now you got your cake and you can eat it too.
And I can eat it too.
How the flesh you were referring to earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Saya. To Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think if we had some hard facts here to deal with about the economic impacts, I think our office would feel that it would be appropriate to weigh in on those subjects. But at this point in talking to our DOT director, sometimes this vendor is the low bidder, sometimes they're not. So gravel is being brought in for county jobs from outside this particular area. It's simply a matter of economics. If your board wants to send a letter that you're concerned about the economic impacts, something a little more generic, that might be more appropriate. But we have no factual basis for our office to recommend at this point the loss of jobs or the traffic or so forth. That would normally come through in an EIR process, and then we'd comment on the EIR process. So at this point, it looks like May or June is when Sonoma County would be taking those issues up. And certainly if we were asked to comment on an EIR, I would certainly recommend to the board that we have our staff comment on that in addition to the GMC. But at this point, the only statement we really have any facts to support is we're concerned about the effect on the economic economy, generically speaking, to Mendocino County.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. To Supervisor Colfax.
Yeah, and I would concur with that because, Mr. Saya, cake notwithstanding, you've made a statement here that I've heard repeatedly. It's been done improperly over the years, but I believe that was the same operator. No? Okay. Okay, so that's what happened. But recently, though, when that particular contract ended, or that arrangement ended, and was taken over by a new contractor, utilizing the same methods without being permitted.
Sonoma County had approved the plans. The reality is the planning department had approved it all. NOAA Fisheries had not chimed in yet. And so it was this year. They let them do it for 2.5, 3 years. Now they're going to stop them until NOAA comes in. NOAA's had it now for 3.5 years. I don't want to speak to the CEQA issues, and I don't think you guys folks do either. I'm not asking you to. I like the direction Tom's going. If you just have a statement of general economic impacts and concern about the area, that would be wonderful. Anything would be wonderful so the county would be aware of it. And regarding the CEQA, Tom, I'm sorry, CEQA right now does not address air quality impacts the way we're talking about in this particular instance. They don't go and say, okay, X amount of tons of gravel is going to take this much more in air quality impacts. CEQA doesn't do that. We did. And I personally went to Ray Madrigal and said, if I put 600 more trucks on the road, what's the answer? Because I don't know. He said there's an answer, and he's got one. So I'm just speaking to these economic and human impact issues, not to the CEQA issues that I think are valid concerns that are being addressed by Sonoma County.
Thank you, Mr. Saya. Supervisor Pinchas.
Marshall brings up a good point. On their CEQA, when it comes to air quality, they'll address the issues of the on-site plant. In other words, the diesel motors that are putting out. They don't address, well, what if this project was stopped and didn't go forward to replace the aggregate from other areas? What's the air quality of all those trucks running back and forth? That's not addressed in CEQA. But, I'm sure the CEQA document is done. I mean, so the comment period as far as to comment on it is basically, I think that's, it's close to being done, so it's a little bit late for that. But I don't think we should comment on the CEQA document. We should just comment on our general concerns to the what would happen.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Delbar.
Well, thank you. My comment was on the CEQA as well. This report for us states that the Sonoma County Permit and Resource Management Department staff has recommended adoption of a mitigated negative deck, including 54 conditions. The negative deck tears off the program EIR adopted in 1994 for their aggregate resources management plan. So I don't anticipate an EIR to comment upon.
Supervisor Smith.
Well, at this point, I just don't think we really have enough to discuss. We've got five or six pages, 5 pages from the planning department that outlines some of the issues involved, which says to me that it's a very complex planning process, and unless we want to sit as the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors and look at all the information, I don't see how we can weigh in on one aspect of it and not weigh in on another aspect. If we're going to weigh in on the economics, why not then, since we share this river, weigh in on the environmental aspects? I think it's just best left to Sonoma County, and we have plenty of things that we need to be doing.
Okay, what am I hearing from the board? We've been here pretty much all day.
I move that we take the recommendation of the CEO's office, which is check this out with planning, gotten the documents before us. I think it goes without saying, these kind of changes have their impact, but at the same time, weighing in on something in Sonoma County, I am concerned that it comes back in another fashion. We'll be expected to weigh in when they decide to take some other action, and we will have, we're jumping into a pond that we don't know whether it's clear water or whether there are a bunch of water moccasins in it. And I'm very much disinclined. We have a problem right now in Wawala with a school that I learned about today, in which we have major planning issues, and we are going to be asked to weigh in on that. Ordinarily, this board does not get involved in education issues, but this one has planning implications. We have enough to do in South Coast right now, and my feeling is let's focus on what's important to us and to the people who live there, and not weighing in on an economic situation that may or may not go forward with or without our help, or our being so presumptuous as to direct our colleagues in the adjacent county.
Supervisor Pinchas.
Well, just to pass it off the CEO's office, I'm opposed to that. I think this is a decision that this board needs to make, and I really